the feature map. That is, I already told you that when we have taken an input image, okay, we apply some filter on that input image, so we'll be getting a feature map, isn't it? So this convolution or the convolved feature will be controlled by basically three important parameters. Okay, so the first parameter is depth. Depth means the total number of filters we are using for the convolution operation. That is, we can use one filter for convolution operation, we can use two filters for convolution operation, so we can use three filters also for convolution operation. We can use any number of filters for convolution operation. Okay, so the total number of filters we are going to use is called the depth. Okay, so if you see here the original image is consisting of boards, right? So we are performing a convolution operation in this original image, okay, using how many distinct filters? Three distinct filters. If you see here, this is the top one is the first filter, and the next one is the second filter, and the last one is the third filter. So when we apply convolution operation on original image with the filter, we will be getting a feature map. So since we are using three filters here, we will get how many feature maps? We will get three different or three unique feature maps. Okay, so if you see here, these feature maps are stacked as the 2D matrices. That is, the first one is one 2D matrix, the second filter is one 2D matrix, and the third one is one 2D matrix. So here we call this, the depth of this particular feature map is 3. Okay, so the depth of this particular feature map will be 3 because we are using 3 filters for convolution operation. Next, stride. The second important factor we have to consider while we are doing convolution is stride. Stride means the total number of pixels we are sliding our filter matrix over the input matrix. I will show you the animation in just a second, so don't get confused. Okay, so striding is nothing but the number of pixels by which we are going to move our filter matrix over the input matrix. As we have already seen that on a original image, we will be applying our filter. So we will be moving the filter one by one, right? And both in the horizontal direction and vertical direction also. So how many pixels we are shifting from one operation to another operation? That is, we are going to call it as slide. That is, I will show you an example here. So this is the example. See here. Okay. See here. So what is the stride of this particular one? For this convolution operation, what is the stride? How many pixels we are moving at a time? We are moving one pixel at a time, right? The stride is here 1. Okay. So now it means, so when the stride is 1, we are going to move the filter 1 pixel at a time. If the stride is 2, the filter is going to move 2 pixels at a time. Okay. So the importance of stride is that when we are going to have a larger stride, having a large stride is going to produce us a small feature map. Okay, because the filter is going to move from one place to the other place with larger jumps, then we will be going to get the smaller feature map. If you see here, let us say we have an example, we choose a stride of 2. So what is the meaning of choosing a stride of 2? It means the filter matrix is going to shift 2 pixels at a time from the first operation to the second operation. Okay, so if you see here, the dimensions for the stride S are as follows. Input is an n by n pixel image. We have padding P. Okay, till now we did not discuss what is padding P. It will come in the next slides. Okay, and now the stride is represented by S, and the filter size is represented by F by F. So if these are all the values, then the output matrix or the output we will get from applying this stride is n plus 2p minus f by s plus 1 into n plus 2p minus f by s plus 1. Okay, so what do I mean by striding means, why we are going to use stride means, it mainly helps us to reduce the image size. Okay, so it is used mainly for getting the useful features only from the image. Okay, so if you see here now, so the stride length here, what is the stride length? It is 1. Okay, so it defines how many steps this filter matrix has to move or slide from one position to another position. Okay, so this is an example of stride 1. In the next example, now what is this one? What is the value of stride here? స్ట్రైడ్ అంటే ఏంటి అనేది మన ఫిల్టర్ మ్యాట్రిక్స్ ఇచ్చిన ఒరిజినల్ ఇన్పుట్ ఇమేజ్ లో ఎంత స్లైడింగ్ అవుతుంది, ఎంత మూవ్ అవుతుంది ఫర్ ఆపరేషన్ క్యాలిక్యులేషన్ కోసం అనే దాన్ని మనం స్ట్రైడ్ అంటాం. ఓకేనా. థర్డ్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫ్యాక్టర్ ఏంటంటే కన్వల్యూషన్ చేసేటప్పుడు ప్యాడింగ్. ఓకే, సో we already saw that convolving an input image of 6x6 dimension with a 3x3 filter will give us a 4x4 output. Okay, this already we saw in the previous class how we are getting 4x4 output. Okay, so the generalization can be given as follows: if the input is n by n and the filter size is f by f, then the output size will be n minus f plus 1 into n minus f plus 1. That is, input size n by n, filter size f by f. The output image we will get it is of size n minus f plus 1 by n minus f plus 1. So these three are the important factors. Okay, so in padding what actually happens is we will look after here. Okay, so mainly when we are doing the convolution operation, we have mainly two disadvantages. Okay, if you see here, what is our input image size? 6x6. What is our output image size? 4x4. What is the meaning of this? When we are giving an input image of 6x6 dimension, we are getting an output image of 4x4 dimension. What do you mean by that? It means the size of the image is shrinking. That is, we do not maintain the original size of the image, right? So this is one important disadvantage when we are applying the convolution operation. Okay, the second main disadvantage is, if you see here, observe carefully, this is one image and this is another image, and in the last there is another image. Okay, so in the corner pixel image, if you see here, A is present in the corner. If we do convolution operation, how many number of times does this corner pixel will be included in our convolution? With stride equal to 1, only one time, right? Okay, now let us take the edge pixel. How many times this pixel B will be included here? It will be included in 3 times in the convolution operation. But if it is the middle pixel, how many times it is included? If the pixel is a middle pixel, how many times it is included? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. That is, what we observe by this? If a pixel is in the corner, okay, it is not included as many number of times when compared to the edge pixel, and edge pixel is included less number of times when compared to the middle pixels. But what happens if we do not include this corner pixel or edge pixel while we are doing convolution operation? The edges of the images, that is the properties in the edges of the images, will be lost. Okay, so this is another drawback when we are performing convolution operation. Okay, for this reason, what we are going to do, we are going to perform what is this operation? Padding. So now padding is nothing but we are going to add an extra zeros on the original image. What is our original image size? 6x6. That is, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows and 6 columns. Now we have padded zeros to the complete image. Okay, now what will be the image size?
8
What will be the image size now?
8 by 8.
8x8 images. So we have padded only 0 values. So we did not alter any values of the original image, but simply we have padded. Can anyone say why we have padded this one? Why we have padded zeros here? Or why we included the concept of padding?
కార్నర్స్ పోయి మొత్తం ఇమేజ్ వస్తుంది సార్.
యా, ఇప్పుడు కార్నర్ లో ఇక్కడ చూడండి వైట్ కలర్ ఉంది కదా, కార్నర్ లో పిక్సెల్ ఉంది అనుకోండి. ఇప్పుడు ఇది కన్వల్యూషన్ ఎన్ని టైమ్స్ ఇంక్లూడ్ అవుతుంది చూడండి, స్ట్రైడ్ ఈక్వల్ టు 1 అంటే. సో ఇక్కడ 1 time, and this is second time, and this is third time, fourth time. So like that, this pixel now will be coming into the middle. అర్థమైంది? ఇప్పుడు వరకు కార్నర్ లో ఉంది. If you take this image, this is pixel A is in the corner, but if you do padding, now it will be coming into the middle, right? So this is how we do not miss the properties of the image which are in the edge. So if we do not do padding, what happens? The properties of the pixels which are on the edges of the images will be lost. So padding cheyadam valla aa pixel anedi ఎడ్జ్ లో కాకుండా ఇమేజ్ మిడిల్ లోకి వస్తుంది కాబట్టి, లేదంటే ఇమేజ్ ఎడ్జెస్ లోకి వస్తుంది కాబట్టి మోర్ నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్స్ కన్వల్యూషన్ లో ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు టేక్ పార్ట్. సో దిస్ ఈస్ వై వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు యూజ్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్ ఆఫ్ padding. So when we use the concept of padding, okay, originally the input size is n by n. Now the padding is given by p. The filter size is f by f. So what will be the output size now? N plus 2p minus f plus 1 into n plus 2p minus f plus 1. Now this will be our output size. It means applying a convolution of 3 by 3 filter on a 6 by 6 image. Okay. On a 6 by 6 image, when we are applying this padding, it will become 8 by 8 matrix, right? So when we apply convolution on this 8 by 8 matrix with 3 by 3 filter, we will be getting now what matrix? 6 by 6 matrix. So now we got the same image, as we got the dimension of the same image as present in the input image. అర్థమైందా? సో ఇప్పుడు ఇన్పుట్ ఇమేజ్ ఏమైనా shrink అయిందా మనకు అవుట్పుట్ లో? Can you please answer?
Yes,
Now does the input image shrink in the output? No, because the input image is 6 by 6 and now the output image is also 6 by 6. This happened as a result of padding, right? So this is the advantage of having padding while we are doing the convolution operation. I hope it is clear for everyone, right? So finally, so in this manner, the information which is present in the borders is also preserved when compared to the information present in the middle of the image also. Okay. So there are two different types of padding. The first one is valid padding and the second one is same padding. Valid padding means we are not doing padding at all. That is, the input image is not changed. That is, it is not altered. So see here, the input image size is n by n, and here we are using f by f filter. Here star represents the convolution operation. So when we convolve the input image of n by n with f by f filter, we will be getting the output image as n minus f plus 1 into n minus f plus 1 image. Okay. Now this is when we are not using padding. But when we are using padding, that is another type of padding is called same padding. Here we are going to add p number of padding layers. That is, if p equal to 1, we are padding 1 layer. P equal to, we are adding 2 layers and so on. Okay. Then the output image, what we told when we are doing this padding, we told that the size of the output image is now equal to the size of the input image, right? So here n plus 2p into n plus 2p, I mean n plus 2p by n plus 2p into means convolution operation, f by f filter applied on this image. Now we give us the original n by n image. So we can call this as n plus 2p minus f plus 1 equal to n. So from this we can obtain the equation p equal to f minus 1 by 2. Okay. So this is how we are going to do different types of padding on the original image. Next, convolution over volume. So till now we have discussed about the convolution operation on a 2D image only, right? But now we also can have 3D input images also. Okay. So when we are having 3D input images, how can we do convolution over this 3D input image? So this 3D input image is of the shape 6 into 3. Okay. So what is the meaning of 6 into 6 into 3 means? 6 by 6 means the input image, I mean rows and columns, that is height and width. Okay. 3 means the total number of channels. Okay. For a 3D input image, we have 3 channels. Okay. So when we are taking input image with 6 by 6 by 3, we have to take the filter also with the same number of channels. If you see here, the filter is 3 by 3 by 3. Okay, the filter is 3 by 3 matrix, and now this filter is also having 3 number of channels. Okay, so when do remember that when you are having an input image with some number of channels, you have to apply the convolution with the help of filter with the same number of channels only. Okay, so these dimensions represent the height. That is, the first 6 is height, second 6 is width, and the third value 3 is called the channel. That is channel in the input and this channel in the filter. Okay. So as I already told, that the total number of channels in the input and filter should be same. Okay. So when we convolve 6 by 6 by 3 with 3 by 3 by 3, we will be getting a result output of 4 by 4. Okay. So next, if you see it visually, so this is a 6 by 6 by 3 image. That is, height is 6, width is 6, and total number of channels are 3. That is R, G, and P. So as the total number of channels are 3, we have to use 3 different types of filters. Okay, that is 3 number of channels. Okay, that is the same filter with 3 different types of channels. That is 3 channels. So we will be getting output as 4 by 4. Okay, so how we are going to get the first value in the 4 by 4 image? Can anyone say how we are going to get the first value in output? So we are going to do element wise product of the first 27 values. So see, in the R channel first 9 values, G channel first 9 values, and B channel first 9 values. So how many values? 27 values. Okay, so we are going to do element wise a multiplication element wise product with the 27 values of this channel. That is the first 9 values in the R channel with the 9 values in the first channel, which is in yellow color, and again the second 9 values in the green color with the second channel of the filter, and the last 9 values of the blue filter with the last channel of the yellow filter. Okay, so all the time we will be using the same filter, but we divided this into 3 channels. Okay, so after that, finally, we are going to convolve the entire image. That is, this filter is going to convolve the entire image. So this is how we are going to do the convolution operation if it is a 3-dimensional image. Okay. Next. So here we have used only a single filter, right? So yellow color specifies that all the 3 channels are having the same filter values. But instead of a single filter, we can also use different types of filters. So here the first filter is yellow color and the second filter is in the green color. So how many number of filters we are using, that many number of outputs we are going to get. So instead of a single 4 by 4 output, now we are going to get 4 by 4 by 2 output because we have used 2 filters, right? So we are going to get in the output 2 4 by 4 values. Okay, so this is what we are going to call it as 4 by 4 by 2. Okay, so input is 6 by 6 by 3. Filters, 2 filters of size 3 by 3 by 3, and the output is 4 by 4. Okay. So finally, generalizing this one also we will get if the input is n by nc. Nc means number of channels both in the input image and the filter, and the filter dimension is f by nc. And if we apply a padding of p and a stride of s, then our output will be n plus 2p minus f by s plus 1 into means by n plus 2p minus f by s plus 1 into nc dash. NC dash means the total number of filters. See here, NC means the total number of channels, and NC dash means the total number of filters. Okay. So finally, we now come to the actual discussion of our convolutional neural networks. Till now, we have completed the concept of convolution. That is how convolution is going to take place. Why convolution? Okay, what are the drawbacks, and what kind of operations we are going to use? That is stride, adding, depth, and so on. So we have came to know about the basic concepts about the convolution. So next we have to discuss about non-linearity, and then we have to discuss about pooling or subsampling, and in the last we have to discuss about classification. Okay. Now, if you see here, this is one layer of a convolutional neural network. So once we are going to get the output after applying the convolution operation using a filter, now what we are going to do means we will apply a bias to those outputs. Okay, and then we apply an activation function, and then we generate the activation. So how activation function is applied, how bias is applied, how we are going to produce non-linearity, and all we have discussed in the previous classes. So for that I am not going to discuss again here. But if you see here, this one layer of convolution network, only the starting 2 parts of the diagram. If you see here, convolution plus ReLU. Okay, do not look after the pooling and again the second convolution plus ReLU. We'll discuss about that later. But only see this convolution plus ReLU. So this is our input image. Okay, now we applied convolution on this particular one. We have got some feature map. Now in this feature map, we are now applying the ReLU activation function to introduce the non-linearity. So why we have to introduce non-linearity? When we are doing the convolution operation, we are doing element wise product only, so that it is a linear output. Okay, But most of the images which we have in our real world are completely non-linear. So to introduce non-linearity to this particular output, now we are applying the values which we have got after convolution. Now we are applying this to the activation function called ReLU activation function. We just have a basic information about what is ReLU activation function. So the ReLU stands for rectified linear unit, and it is a non-linear activation function. So what is the output of this ReLU activation function? The output will be the maximum value of 0, comma input. So if you remember in the previous class we discussed about this is our input. Okay, after applying the convolution operation we are going to get the feature map. Okay, after applying convolution operation we will be getting the feature map. So after getting the feature map, now what I am going to tell you, what I am telling you, we will be applying the ReLU activation function in this obtained feature map, right? So if you see here, this is our input feature map before applying ReLU. Okay, so if you see here, the black pixels are negative pixels, white pixels are positive values. If you see, when we apply or when we give the input feature map to the ReLU activation function, if you see here, the output will be only non-negative values, that is 0 values, and the negative values will be completely eliminated. Only the non-negative values will be given as output. So this output we are going to call it as rectified feature map. Clear nana? So ఇక్కడ ReLU ఎందుకు వాడతాం అనేది ఇప్పుడు అర్థమైందా? సో ప్యాడింగ్ చేసినప్పుడు మనకు వచ్చిన బ్లాక్ వాల్యూస్ ఉంటాయి అండ్ నెగటివ్ వాల్యూస్ కూడా ఉంటాయి. ఒరిజినల్ ఇమేజ్ లో కన్వల్యూషన్ చేసిన తర్వాత కూడా ఇఫ్ వి అబ్జర్వ్ ఇన్ ద లెఫ్ట్ సైడ్ ఇమేజ్ వి హావ్ సమ్ బ్లాక్ వాల్యూస్, రైట్? సో ఇప్పుడు మీరు రైట్ సైడ్ ఇమేజ్ లో ReLU అప్లై చేసిన తర్వాత చూస్తే వి కంప్లీట్లీ ఎలిమినేటెడ్ ఆల్ ద black values. Okay, we are only having only non-negative values. But see, as specified in the last description, we can use other functions as tanh or sigmoid. But using ReLU has given the better performance in most of the situations. Okay, so before applying ReLU, we have a feature map. After applying ReLU, we will be having a rectified feature map. This is most important for you to remember. Okay, after applying ReLU, we will be having a rectified feature map. Okay, next. Okay, next if you see here, this is a simple neural network. This is layer 0, layer 1, layer 2. Simply we call it as input layer, hidden layer, and output layer. So here all the inputs are represented with X. Okay, so when these inputs are given to the hidden layer, it is going to apply some transformation. That is, it is going to apply some activation function on this particular layer, and here it is going to get a power square bracket lo 1 chusara. So if it is, we are going to get a power 1, that is activations in the first layer. And now when it is going to take these as inputs, again it is going to process in the output layer and it is going to get the activations in the second layer, that is a power 2. So finally we are getting the output as y cap equal to a power 2. The reason why I am saying is you will understand now. Okay, so if you recall in the previous classes about our introduction to neural networks and so on, we came to know that the output, that is output Z, is equal to weighted, the sum of the bias value and weights into inputs, right? So W means weight here, A means input, B means bias, Z means output. That is output Z is equal to weights into input plus the bias value. So previously, initially we will be having some values, right, here for this one. Okay, some default bias values. Okay, so when we do weight into this a power 0 plus b, we will be getting what we are going to get Z1, that is as output value. So now when we are applying an activation function on this Z1, now we are going to get the activation a power 1, that is in the next layer we will be getting this activation. And now we again apply some activation functions on this one, again we will be getting a power 2. So this is how we are going to get the values here. That is applying, that is d of z power 1 means we are going to apply the activation function on the output Z, so which is going to give us a power 1. Okay, clear? So in our case, if we take an example, our input image is of 6 by 6 by 3, which we represent this with a power 0. Okay, and the filters are 3 by 3 by 3. These will be taken as weights. Okay, so the activations from the layer 1 act as the input for the layer 2. Activations from the layer 2 act as input for the layer 3 and so on. So this is how we are going to get the output. Okay. So next about parameters. So Discussing about parameters is also important when we are going to discuss about the convolutional neural networks. Okay, the important thing we have to consider is, and the advantage of this convolutional neural networks is, the total number of parameters in our convolutional neural network is independent of the size of the image. So whatever the size of the input image, okay, the number of parameters in the CNN is independent of the size of the image. Okay, the total number of parameters only depends upon the filter size. Do you remember, the total number of parameters in our convolutional neural networks, it purely depends upon the filter size. They does not depend upon the size of the input image. That is, for example, we have 10 filters. Okay, I'm sorry, each of shape 3 by 3 by 3. Okay, now what will be the total number of parameters in this layer? So the total number of parameters for this particular 10 filters, each of shape 3 by 3 by 3 is, so for each filter, how many number of parameters we have? 3 by 3 by 3 means 27. And for each and every filter, we will be having one bias term also, right? As we discussed, the total parameters will be 27 plus 1, 28. But how many number of filters are there? 10 filters. That is 28 into 10 is 280 parameters. Okay. What may be the size of the input image? It is not, it is unnecessary. Only the total number of parameters we calculate basing upon the filters, number of filters and the size of the filter. Okay. Next. So this is what we have written here. No matter how big the image is, the parameters only depend upon the filter size. So summary of all the notations which we have learned till now in the convolutional layer is: F is nothing but filter size, P means padding, S means stride, NC means the total number of filters. Now let us see an example how we are going to apply this convolution, and how many number of filters we are applying, how stride is applied, how padding is done, and how we are going to get all these values. If you see here, don't get tense about all these values. I'll be clearing you everything. Okay. If you see here, the input image is of size 39 by 39 by 3. That is height 39, width 39. Okay. And total number of channels are 3. And how many number of filters we are applying now? 10 filters. Okay, and filter size is also 3 number of channels. Okay, stride is 1, padding is 0. Here we are not going to apply any padding, that is valid padding. Okay, that is we are not applying any padding. So when we apply convolution with this filter on this 39 by 39 by 3 input image, we got an output image of 37 by 37 by 10. Okay, I will tell you how you get that. How do we get 37 by 37 by 10? Okay, but for now, listen. Okay, and now again, after applying convolution operation with number of filters, 20 filters now, and the next channels are 5, stride is now 2, padding is 0. Again, we got 17 by 17 by 20, and later again we got 7 by 7 by 40, and then these 1960 values we have given to the fully connected layer. Now the question is, how did we get this 37 by 37 by 10 when we got the input image 39 by 39 by 3? Okay, so let us solve this one first. If you see here, we have taken an input image of size 39 by 39 by 3, right? So this is 39 by 39 by 3 input image, which means height into width into the total number of channels. Now we are convolving it with how many filters as specified in the image? We are convolving it with 10 filters, which is of size 3 by 3. See in the specifications f of 1, it is given, right? So at the first operation, it is 3 means the 3 number of channels. Okay, filter size 3 by 3. Now we are going to take this stride as 1. See, x of 1 equal to 1 and p of 1 is 0. So padding is not there, no padding. So it has given us the output of 37 by 37 by 10. If you see here, the input is n by nc, that is 39 by 39 by 3. Filter is f by nc, that is 3 by 3 by 3. Padding is 0. Stride is 1. What will be the output as discussed? If we do like this, n plus 2p minus f by x plus 1 into n plus 2p minus f by x plus 1 into nc dash. Okay, nc dash is the number of filters. So let us see the calculation. What is the original n value? 39 plus 2 into what is the padding here? 0 minus what is f value? 3. Okay, so 39 plus 2p minus 3. Okay, what is s? 1. So by 1 I did not give it here because by 1 will be the same value plus 1 into again 39 plus 2 into 0 minus 3 plus 1 into what is here NC dash. NC dash means the number of filters. How many number of filters we are using here? 10 number of filters, right? So we include the 10 value here. So what will be the value? 39 minus 3, 36. 36 plus 1 means 37. Here also 37 into 10. So the input image is 39 into 39 into 3. Now we got the output image as 37 by 37 by 10. I hope you have understood now how we got 37 by 37 by 10 when we have the input image 39 by 39 by 3. The same follows for the next calculations also. Okay. I hope it is clear now. Okay. So this is how we are going to produce the different types of images. So finally, we convolve this output further and we got an output of 7 by 7 by 40. Right? So now the total number of values of 7 by 7 by 40 means 1960. Okay. Now what we'll do, we'll again unroll them and now we convert them into a large vector and now we pass these values to the classifier for making predictions. So initially I told you why we are not going to send the parameters in the initial itself, that is before applying convolution operation. If we send these parameters directly to the fully connected neural network, then we discuss about the drawbacks. Okay, for the drawbacks only we included the convolution neural network operation, CNN operation, right? That is convolution operation. So after performing convolution, now we are sending this 1960 values or numbers, that is we are now unrolling them into a large single vector and now we pass these values to the classifier and then the classifier is going to make the prediction. So this is a small example of how a typical convolutional neural network is going to look. Okay, next. So here we have to discuss about some parameters called hyperparameters. Okay. So while we are building a neural network, there are a number of hyperparameters which we will get. Okay. So these hyperparameters are the total number of filters, the size of the filter, the stride which we are going to use, the padding which we are applying to the image, etc. So these are all the hyperparameters. So if you see here, when we go deeper into the network, the size of the image is shrinking, right? If you see here, initially the size of image is 39 by 39. So when you apply convolution operation and then finally you got 7 by 7. So when you go deeper into the network, the size of the image shrinks, whereas the total number of channels are increasing, right? Initially the total number of channels are 3 and now the total number of channels are 40. Okay, so when we are going deeper into the network, the size of the image shrinks, whereas the total number of channels now they are going to increase. Okay, so basically there are three types of layers in a convolutional neural network. The first one is convolution layer, the second one is pooling layer, and the third one is fully connected layer. So till now we have discussed about the convolution layer. So next are remaining with the pooling layer and fully connected layer. Okay, so let us now see the diagram here. If you see here, the same diagram, convolution plus ReLU, and what is the next operation we have here? Can anyone say what is the next operation we have here?
Pooling, sir.
Pooling. And next, again convolution plus ReLU, and then pooling, and then we do this to the fully connected layer, and finally we get the output prediction. Okay, now let us see what is pooling. Okay, pooling is nothing but it is used to reduce the size of the input. So if we can reduce the size of the input, we can speed up the computation, right? So finally, what we mean to say is that pooling reduces the dimensionality of the feature map. Okay, if you see here, this is our feature map. This is our input image, board image. The second image is the feature map. Now, when we apply pooling on this feature map, it is going to reduce the dimension of this particular feature map. For this reason, we are going to use the concept of pooling. Pooling, there are different types of pooling. The first one is max pooling. We can use average pooling. We can use sum pooling, etc. Now let us see how pooling is done on the image. Okay, if you see, let us consider a 4 by 4 matrix here. This is a 4 by 4 matrix. Now we are going to apply the pooling concept, and that we are using max pooling. Max pooling is nothing but for every consecutive 2 by 2 block, okay, we will take the maximum number. If you see the colored image on the left side, so this is a 2 by 2 block with green color, and the next one is 2 by 2 block with red color, and the next one is 2 by 2 block with blue color, and the next one is 2 by 2 block with some sky blue color. Okay, so now in the first 2 by 2 block, what is the maximum number? 9. In the second 2 by 2 block, what is the maximum number? 2. Third 2 by 2 block, what is the maximum number? 6. Fourth 2 by 2 block, what is the maximum number? 3. So now originally it is 4 by 4 image. Now what we got? We got 2 by 2 image. Okay. So this is how, while after applying pooling, we will reduce the dimension of the input. Okay. You may get it out that we may lose some features. Okay. But here we are not going to lose any features because we are taking the maximum value. We do not lose any feature. But why we are doing the pooling operation is we wanted to reduce the size. Thereby we can increase the speed of the computation. Okay. So here we have applied a filter of size how much? 2, and the stride is also 2 because filter 2 means 2 by 2 filter, and stride 2 means 2 pixels it will be shifting. That is, in the first it will be in the green, and in the second shift it will be in the red, and next it will be shifting to blue, and next it will be shifting to sky blue. So this is how we use the filter of size 2, and also we use the stride of 2. So by using this max pooling, we are going to reduce the size of the feature map. Okay. This is another example if you see here. So this is 1156, maximum value is 6, 2478, maximum value 8, 3212, maximum value 3, 1034, maximum value 4. So this is how this pooling concept is going to reduce the dimensionality of our feature map. Okay, it is not reducing the dimensionality of the input image. Okay, because before pooling we are doing convolution operation. After convolution operation we are doing pooling. Okay. So this is how pooling is applied, and then we reduce the dimension. If you see here, this is our input image. Now we have applied the convolution using the 3 filters. Okay. Now the pooling is applied separately on each of the feature map. So on the top one we have applied pooling, and in the second layer we have applied pooling, and in the third layer we have applied pooling. So we have got 3 different feature maps after applying the pooling ones. Okay. If you see, when we convert an image and we obtain a rectified feature map after applying convolution plus ReLU, this is our output in the left side. Okay. Now, when we have applied pooling, I told you that there are different types of pooling, right? This is an example. Right side one is an example. Top one is an example of max pooling, and the bottom one is an example of sum pooling. So this is the difference between the max pooling and sum pooling. Sum pooling is nothing but, if you see here, these are the values, right? In the max pooling we have taken the maximum value, and in the sum pooling we will be taking the sum of all these picture values. That is 1 plus 3 plus 2 plus 9. That final value will be given. Okay. So like that we will be performing the sum pooling, or average pooling means we will be taking the average value of all the pixels. Okay, so this is how pooling will be performed. Okay, but when compared to the average pooling and sum pooling, max pooling has been shown to work better. So that is the reason maximum number of times we are going to use the max pooling. Okay, so this is how the pooling is going to work. So if the input of the pooling layer is NH into NW and NC, then the output will be NH minus F by S plus 1 into NW minus F by S plus 1 into NC. Okay. So this is our CNN, complete CNN example. If you see here, this is a convolution neural network where we applied convolutions and pooling. Okay. So we have taken the input of the input image of size 32 by 32 by 3. Total number of channels are 5, and the stride is 1. Okay, so we got 28 by 28 by 6, and then we have applied pooling. We got 14 by 14 by 6. So one combination of convolution and pooling has been taken as layer 1, and again the second combination of convolution and pooling has been taken as layer 2. So this is how I wanted to show you how convolution and pooling takes place and how the values are being reduced. That is, the dimensionality is going to be reduced. Okay, so this is a simple example of how convolution and pooling are going to take place. Okay, clear? Now, after applying convolution and pooling, repeated convolution and pooling, now we got this particular values. That is, now we have got 400 values. As I already told, we will convert this into a single large vector, and now we feed these values to the fully connected layer. Okay, and when we apply these values to the fully connected neural network, finally we will use a softmax classifier. We already discussed about what is softmax activation function, how it is used to classify the input values. Okay, softmax always works based upon the probabilities, right? We already discussed about softmax. If you are not aware of that, please refer to that lecture. Okay, so finally we use the softmax classifier to classify the input into various categories. So if you see here, the height and width of the input is 32 by 32 initially. Now it has shrunk to 5 by 5. But the input size, input channel is 3, and now the output channel is 10. That is, the total number of channels are increasing and the size of the image is decreasing. Okay. So finally, what story we have discussed so far? So we have discussed about in the first convolution plus ReLU we have done, and then we have done first pooling, and we have done again second convolution plus ReLU, and then we have done second pooling, and then we have given all these values to the first fully connected layers, and then we have again given it to the fully connected layer, and finally we have got the output predictions. So this is the output prediction of this particular convolution neural network. The output prediction for dog is 0.01, for cat is 0.04, for boat is 0.94, and for bird is 0.02. The sum of all these values should be equal to 1. So softmax is going to classify basing upon the probabilities only. So, okay. So always the sum of all the classified values must be equal to 1. Okay. So this is how we have done convolution, pooling, again convolution, again pooling, and so on. Okay. So what about fully connected layer? So I told you that after applying convolution, pooling, we will be sending these values to the fully connected layer. So fully connected layer is nothing but, as we have already discussed, that we use a multi-layer perceptron, and this multi-layer perceptron uses a softmax activation function in the output layer. So fully connected means every neuron in this previous layer is connected to every other neuron in the next layer. That is the reason we call it as fully connected. Okay. So finally, what will be the output? So the output from this convolution and pooling, they are going to represent the high-level features of the input image. Okay. Okay. Now the purpose of the fully connected layer. What is the purpose of this fully connected layer? As I already told, by applying convolution and pooling, we will be getting the high-level features. Okay. Now it will use these high-level features to classify the input image into different classes basing upon the training data. Okay. So now if you see, for example, let us see, this is the image classification task. We have 4 possible outputs here, that is dog, cat, bird, and bird. Okay. So here it has classified successfully that the input image is bird with a probability of 0.94, right? So here we have 4 possible different types of outputs. As already told, the sum of all output probabilities must be equal to 1, and this can be ensured by the softmax activation function. Okay. So when we put it all together, as I already told, convolution plus pooling is used to produce the high-level features. That is, feature extraction from the image is done by convolution and pooling operation. Classification is done by the fully connected layer. Okay, do remember, again I am repeating. Feature extractions will be done by convolution and pooling operation. Classification will be done by the fully connected layer. Okay. So if you take an input image, our input image is board, right? What is our target values? That is, what should be our actual final value, original classification? It should be 0 for dog, 0 for cat, but 1 for board, because original image is consisting of board only. So it should be 1 for board and 0 for bird, right? But initially our network cannot predict the input image accurately. Okay. For this purpose, we will be using the backpropagation algorithm, right? So how we are using the backpropagation algorithm and all we have discussed in the previous classes, right? So now let us understand about the example, or let us understand the different steps included in this particular training algorithm. What happens? First of all, we will initialize all the filters and parameters with some random values. Always the network is trained with all the input values with random values only, because initially we do not know the optimum values or exact values. Okay. Now the network is in the step 2. The network takes this training image as input. Okay. It goes to the forward propagation step. What is the forward propagation step? Applying convolution, ReLU, and pooling operation along with the fully connected layers. Okay. So finally, what it do? It will find the output probabilities for each of the classes. Let us say, for example, for the input random values of all the filters and parameters, it has predicted that the output values are 0.2, 0.4, 0.1, and 0.3. Is this value equal to our target vector? No, because our target vector is 0, 0, 1, 0. But our actual value we have got after training our network is 0.2, 0.4, 0.1, and 0.2. Why did we get this? Because we have assigned the weights randomly for the first time in the first training example. Okay. So as we have assigned the weights randomly, our output probabilities will also be in random manner only. So now what we will do? We will be again performing the back propagation algorithm. Okay, so to perform the back propagation algorithm, first of all, we have to calculate the total error at the output layer, right? So what will be the total error? As we already discussed, summation of half into the target probability minus our output probability whole square. Okay, so after calculating the total error, what we'll do in the step 4, now we'll use the back propagation algorithm. So here we are going to calculate the gradient of the error. We discussed about what is a gradient, how we will calculate the gradient, how we have to stop at an optimal value, what is the stopping criteria, and all we have discussed in the previous classes, right? So here the weights are adjusted in proportion to the contribution of the total error. That is, for the first iteration, if the error is some 0.5. Now for the second iteration, it will be some 0.45 or 0.4. So according to the proportion of the contribution to the total error, the weights will be adjusted. So now for the second iteration, if you see here, if you give the same image as input, now the values of the vectors are 0.1, 0.1, 0.7, and 0.1. Which is somewhat closer to the target value 0010, right? So this one, there is 0.7 is somewhat closer to 1. Okay. What does this mean? It means the network is now learning to classify our given input image correctly by adjusting its weights, by adjusting the filter values, etc. Okay. So finally, it will adjust all the parameters like the total number of filters, the size of the filter, the architecture of the network, how many number of neurons should be there in the fully connected layer, and so on. By taking or by applying this process repeatedly, now our network will be trained with all the images in our training set. So finally, when we give a new input image, now it tries to identify that image or classify that image successfully. Okay, so if our training set is large enough, that is, we have trained our network with more number of images, hopefully our network is going to classify the input image, that is the object in the input image, into correct categories. Okay, so one thing I wanted to tell, here we use two sets of alternating convolution and pooling layers, right? If you see here, this is one convolution plus ReLU and pooling, and again convolution plus ReLU and pooling. But there is no particular rule that there is no particular priority that, or no particular rule that you have to use the convolution and pooling operation only in this particular order. That is, it is not necessary to have a pooling layer of every convolution layer. Okay, so here you can do convolution plus ReLU, and again you can do convolution plus ReLU, and then you can apply pooling, and then again you can do convolution plus ReLU. There is no particular order for applying this convolution and pooling. That is, it is not necessary that you apply pooling soon after you apply convolution operation. You can apply them in any of the order. Okay. So if you see here, this is our input image. If you see, we have done convolution, ReLU, and then we have done convolution, ReLU, and then we have done pooling. Again convolution, ReLU, and then pooling. Again convolution, ReLU, and then pooling. And finally, we have given this to the fully connected layer, and it has successfully identified that the input image is okay with maximum probability. Okay, so this is how we can visualize convolutional neural networks. Okay, that is to understand how actually convolutional neural networks are going to work. See, if you come from the bottom, this is the layer one. Only the basic level of values are identified, and in the layer two, some more high level features, and in the layer three, it even included more number of high level features. That is coming from convolution pooling, convolution pooling. So, as I already told, the combination of convolution and pooling will be extracting the features from the image, and finally the fully connected layer is going to classify that image. So if we wanted to extract more number of features, we have to apply more number of convolution and pooling operations. Okay, clear? So a scientist called Adam Harley has created the visualization of this convolutional neural network on the MNIST database of handwritten digits. Okay, I'll just show you this kind of 2D view and 3D view of this particular convolution. Okay, so here we will see the 2D representation of a convolutional neural network. See, I am going to draw a particular number. That is, see, I am going to draw, let us say 8. Okay. Okay. So now see here, what is the first guess? It has guessed it as 8. So how this will be evaluated? If you see, this is our original image, right? This is our original image. So now it is divided into pixels. Now in the first layer, what happens? We will be applying convolution and pooling. Okay. And then we have again applied convolution and pooling in the next layer. And then we have applied max pooling. And then in the next layer again we have applied pooling. And then we have given this to what? And then again we have given this to fully connected layer. Is it visible, Anna? Is it visible how the input is now processed and how it is going to get the output as 8? Is it visible? Is it visible? Can you see
Yes,
here
sir.
that the 8 pixel has been highlighted here in the final output? In the final output, we have total number of 10 neurons, and output neuron which is labeled as 8 has been highlighted. See, so this is 2D presentation. It is best if I show you the 3D representation of how we can see this one. Just a second. Okay. So now this is the 3D representation. Again, I am going to show you. Okay. So if you see here, again I am going to draw 8. So this is 3D representation of the input image. If you see here, this is our original input, right? If you see, this is our original input image. Okay. So first, what has been done? What will be the first operation, Anna? Convolution plus ReLU, right? So this is what we have done. Convolution. See, there are different values. It is going to show. If you see here, I click on that particular one. It is going to see how it is going to do convolution. And next, it is doing what? Subsampling or pooling. It is going to do the pooling. So here if you see convolution layer 2, filter 13 and unit 35. If you see here, okay, is it visible? Is it visible all of you? So if you see here, again we have done max pooling for each pixel. Is it visible? This is what we are doing, max pooling,
Yes, sir.
okay. And then we have applied these values to the fully connected layer. See, these are the fully connected layers. The first fully connected layer, and the next one is the next fully connected layer. And from this we have taken output. See, it has correctly identified that the input image is 8, right? So this is how the convolutional neural networks are going to